Have you ever had one of those days where you wake up thinking, okay, I've got so much on my plate today, right? But then you get to the end of it and you kind of feel like, well, like you didn't really accomplish anything important. You were busy, maybe running around putting out fires. But those big things, the ones that really make a difference, they somehow got pushed. Again, it's a feeling I think almost everyone knows, right? That gap between just doing stuff and actually achieving something meaningful, and it makes you stop and think, doesn't it? Or just, short on time, always chasing the clock. Or is it maybe? Maybe it's our habits, the way we sort of unconsciously approach our day that leaves us feeling swamped. Because look, if it's the second one, if it's about habits, then there's actually something we can do about it. And that's what we're diving into today. We're going deep on a book that offers some really practical answers. Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog. It's more than just tips. It feels like a real guide for getting control back. So our mission here is pretty clear. We want to unpack, really get under the hood of maybe the 6 most powerful, most practical ideas from this book. Break them down simply, use some real examples, show you how these things can actually shift how you work, how you feel, maybe even, change the direction you're heading in. So yeah, stick around. This should be really useful.
Oh yeah, that feeling is, it's incredibly widespread now, isn't it? That sense of overwhelm, the constant distraction. It feels like modern life just throws so much at us. Notifications, demands, endless things vying for our attention. It's easy to feel like you're just, treading water, burning energy, but not really getting anywhere that matters. And what's so great about Tracy's stuff here, what's fascinating, is that it's not just pie in the sky theory. It's tangible, real actions you can take, steps that can genuinely lead to big shifts in your day-to-day productivity. And yeah, like you said, your overall life path, it gives you a structure, a way to cut through that noise. And I think people are looking for that, right? Not necessarily shortcuts to avoid work, but ways to get the essential knowledge quickly, efficiently, to actually use it. And that's really what we're aiming for in this deep dive, taking all this wisdom, distilling it down into these actionable pieces so you can grab them, understand them, and hopefully start applying them straight away. It's about getting that clarity, that roadmap, so you feel more in control and, frankly, more accomplished when your head hits the pillow.
Right. So let's dive right into the core idea, this frog. What on earth is the frog that Brian Tracy wants us to eat? It's such a vivid image, isn't it? Tracy basically defines your frog as your biggest task, your most important one.
Yeah.
And yeah, often it's the toughest one too. It's that thing on your list you're most likely to procrastinate on. Maybe it looks hard, or it's kind of boring, or just feels huge, intimidating. But here's the flip side, and this is crucial. That same frog, that task you're dreading, it's usually the one that adds the most value. It's the one thing that, if you get it done, will contribute most significantly to your big goals, your main objectives. Okay, so that's the what. What about the eating part? What does eating the frog actually mean we should do? It's surprisingly simple, but really powerful in practice. It just means do that big, important, maybe scary task first. First thing in your day. No messing around, no excuses. Don't check your email first. Just tackle it. He uses that analogy, doesn't he? Imagine you literally had to eat a live frog. Ugh. If that was on your breakfast menu, why don't you do it?
Yeah, right. You'd want it over with, wouldn't you?
Exactly. You'd gulp it down fast just to get past it so you could actually enjoy your coffee and the rest of your day. And that's the parallel. Get the hardest, most important thing done first, and suddenly the rest of the day feels lighter. More manageable. You've got momentum.
And that's really the key, isn't it? The psychological impact. It's not just about ticking off a box on your to-do list, though that feels good too. It's about building momentum. That feeling of accomplishment right at the start of your day, it's huge. When you tackle that frog, that thing you were maybe dreading a little bit, there's this immediate sense of relief, like, phew, okay, the worst is over.
Yeah.
That mental weight, the one that kind of hangs over you when you're putting something off, it disappears. And that's not just a feeling, it actually frees up mental energy, cognitive resources, you could call it.
Yeah.
So you can focus better on everything else that follows. It leads to more sustained success throughout the day, and yeah, definitely a lighter feeling overall. There's that psychological thing, the Zeigarnik effect, where unfinished tasks just stick in your brain, causing stress and clutter.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. They just nag at you.
Exactly. And your frog is often the biggest nagger of them all. The anxiety about having to do it can actually be more tiring than doing the task itself. It's weird, isn't it?
Totally.
So by eating it, first, you kill that anxiety right away. You clear out that mental drain, and boom, you feel lighter, less stressed, and you get this instant hit of confidence, like, I did the hard thing.
That immediate reward sets such a positive tone. It creates this upward spiral. Success breeds more success, and it literally starts with that first, maybe slightly unpleasant, but incredibly important task you choose to tackle. Okay, that makes perfect sense. So let's get into the first of these big practical ideas from the book. This one feels foundational, really. It's the absolute necessity of clarifying your goals. Tracy is super clear on this. He basically says, look, if you don't have really clear, specific, written down goals, you could work incredibly hard, pour tons of energy in, but you might just end up spinning your wheels. It's like getting in your car for a long trip, but having no idea where you're going. You'll drive, sure, you might even go fast, but you could end up anywhere and probably not where you actually wanted to be. Goals are the compass, right? They give you that direction.
Absolutely. The destination.
Yeah, the destination. And how do you make them really clear? His advice is simple, but the impact he claims is huge. Write them down. He actually says, and this is pretty bold, that people who physically write their goals down are something like 10 times more likely to achieve them compared to people who just kind of think about them. 10 times. That's massive. There's something about putting pen to paper, apparently.
It solidifies it.
Yeah. Let's make this real. Think about Sarah, this UCLA student example. She had decent intentions, wanted good grades, a job later, be fit, pretty standard stuff. But in reality, lots of time scrolling social media, putting off studying, feeling kind of overwhelmed and behind. Her goals were fuzzy, just vague wishes, really. And her actions didn't match up. Busy, yeah, but not really focused.
Sounds familiar for a lot of people, student or not.
Totally. Then she reads, Eat That Frog.
Yeah.
And she doesn't just think about goals anymore. She actually sits down, gets out a notebook, and writes them down. Specifically, like, get a 3.8 GPA this semester, exercise 1 hour every day, apply for 2 internships each week. See how concrete that is?
Big difference. Measurable.
Huge difference. So each morning, she'd look at these written goals, plan her day around them. She started doing her studying first. That was her frog. Cut down the scrolling time. And the result, pretty amazing. End of the semester, she didn't just scrape by. She got a 4.0 GPA and landed a great internship, all because she got crystal clear on where she was aiming.
That's a fantastic illustration. And it begs the question, doesn't it? Why? Why is writing it down so powerful? It seems almost too simple. But it's not just about the ink. When you write, you're taking something abstract, just floating around in your head, and you're making it tangible, concrete. It becomes a commitment, not just a wish. And neurologically, it engages more of your brain, right? The physical act of writing, seeing it there visually, it encodes it differently. It signals to your subconscious, hey, this is important. Pay attention to stuff related to this. It primes your mind in a way.
Like programming your internal GPS.
Exactly. And Tracy really hammers this home by pushing for SMART goals. Most people have probably heard the acronym, but it's worth quickly touching on why each part matters. It turns a fuzzy wish into an actual plan. So, specific. What exactly do you want? Measurable. How will you know when you've got it? Achievable? Is it realistic? Maybe stretching you, but possible. Relevant? Does it actually matter to you? Align with your values? And time-bound. By when? That deadline creates urgency.
Right. It forces you to think it through properly.
Precisely. Compare, I want to get fit, which is nice, but kind of useless as a goal, with I will lose 10 pounds in the next 3 months by walking 30 minutes daily and doing strength training twice a week. See the difference?
Yeah, one's a wish, the other's a plan.
Exactly. You know what to do, how to track it. So for everyone listening, the immediate takeaway is, don't just nod along. Seriously, grab a piece of paper right now, or open a notes app. What's one important goal? Write it down. Make it SMART. That simple act, that's the starting pistol for getting serious about achieving it.
I love that immediate call to action. And it flows so well into the second big idea, which is all about planning. Planning is power. Tracy has this amazing rule of thumb, and it kind of blew my mind when I first read it. He says, every minute you spend planning saves you 10 minutes in execution.
Wow.
Yeah, think about that. Spend just 10 minutes planning your day, and you could save 100 minutes. That's over an hour and a half. When you're actually doing the work, the leverage there is just incredible. Imagine that compounding day after day.
That's a massive return on investment for just 10 minutes.
Totally. So how do we do it? His method is super practical. Every night, make your to-do list for the next day. Not in the morning when things are already flying at you, but the night before. And crucially, put your frogs, your biggest, most important tasks, right at the top. This way, you wake up, you already know what matters most. No dithering, no what should I do first. Your priorities are set.
Takes away that morning decision fatigue.
Exactly. Let's use another example. Mike, the software developer in Silicon Valley. Picture this. Big project deadline looming. He's good at his job, but he gets sucked into the daily whirlwind, right? Checking emails constantly, quick meetings that pop up, chats by the water cooler.
The usual stuff that eats up the day.
the usual stuff. But it meant his core coding work, the actual project, kept getting pushed. He'd end up working late, stressed out, feeling behind. Then he starts using the Eat That Frog planning method, takes just 10 minutes every evening before logging off, writes down his priorities for the next day, and he gets specific, like 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., complete core algorithm coding. So the next day he knows exactly what his frog is and when he's doing it. He comes in, silences his phone, shuts down email, maybe puts on headphones, and for those 2 hours he just codes. Deep focus.
He created the conditions for focus.
Precisely. And the outcome. He finishes the whole project 2 days ahead of schedule, gets major kudos from his manager, all from that simple 10-minute nightly planning habit.
That's powerful. And it highlights how planning is like a preemptive defense against the chaos, doesn't it? It shields you from distractions before they even happen, and it cuts down on that decision fatigue you mentioned. When your plan is clear, especially made the night before, when you're maybe a bit calmer, you don't waste that precious morning energy just figuring out what to do. You've already decided. You can just execute. It lowers the friction to getting started on the important stuff.
Yeah, it smooths the path.
It really does. And Tracy adds another layer with his ABCDE prioritization method. It's simple, but really effective for sorting that list you made. A tasks are your absolute must-dos, your real frogs. Big consequences if you don't do them. B tasks are things you should do, but they're less critical than A's. Consequences are milder. You never do a B while an A is undone. C tasks are kind of nice to do, but no real consequence if they don't happen. Think optional stuff. D is for delegate. Can someone else do this? And E is for eliminate. Just get rid of tasks that don't add value.
That really forces you to be honest about what's truly important versus just busy work.
Exactly. It keeps your focus laser sharp on the high impact stuff. So for you listening, again, this is super actionable. Tonight, when you make that list for tomorrow, maybe just list 3 things to start, then quickly label them A, B, C, maybe D or E. It takes seconds, but it brings clarity. And the bigger picture here, planning isn't just about being faster. It's about being intentional. It's about taking control, designing your day instead of just reacting to it, moving from reactive to proactive. That's a fundamental shift.
Totally agree. Being proactive, that actually leads really nicely into the third big idea we want to unpack. Adopt the 80-20 rule. You might also know it as the Pareto principle. Now, many people have heard of this, but Tracy really connects it tightly to the frog concept. The basic idea for anyone unfamiliar is that roughly 80% of your results come from only 20% of your efforts or tasks.
Such a counterintuitive idea for many.
It really is. Think about your to-do list again. If you have 10 things on there, the 80-20 rule suggests that maybe only 2 of those tasks are going to generate the vast majority of your positive outcomes. The other 8, they might be necessary, sure, but they're likely the trivial many, while those 2 are the vital few.
And the trap, Tracy points out, is that we often get bogged down in those 8 less important tasks. They fill our time, make us feel busy, but they distract us from the 2 tasks that really matter, our frogs.
We major in minor things sometimes.
Exactly. But if you can consciously identify and focus your energy on that critical 20%, that's where you get massive leverage. Your productivity doesn't just inch up. Tracy says it can skyrocket. Let's use Emily, the freelance graphic designer in Chicago, as an example. She was super busy, right? Doing maybe 10 small logo jobs a day, bringing in decent money, around $500 daily. Felt productive.
Hey, steady work. But then a huge opportunity lands in her lap. A big client wants a full $5,000 branding package. That's her real frog. Career-changing potential. But because her days were packed with the small logo grind, she couldn't find the time or maybe the mental bandwidth to really tackle this big, high-value project.
The tyranny of the urgent pushing out the important.
Perfectly put. So she reads the book, has this 80-20 epiphany. She realizes, okay, these small logos keep me busy, but this branding project is the 20% that could yield 80% of my income and growth. So she makes a deliberate change. She decides, first thing every day, 3 solid hours dedicated only to the branding project. That's her fog. She eats it first. Then she does maybe just 2 or 3 of the smaller logo jobs afterwards.
A conscious reallocation of energy.
Exactly. And guess what? In a month, she nails the branding project, earns the $5,000. But more than that, her confidence soars. She levels up her portfolio, attracts better clients. It was a total game changer, all from applying that 80-20 focus.
That's a brilliant example of how it forces you to really evaluate where your energy is best spent. It's not about doing less necessarily, but doing less of the low impact stuff to make space for the high impact stuff. It shifts your perspective from just activity to achievement. Are you just spinning your wheels, or are you actually gaining traction on the things that move you forward? It forces that critical question.
Yeah, it's a filter, really.
It is.
Yep.
So for you listening, try this right now with your own list. Or just think about your typical workday. Look at all the things you do. Ask yourself honestly, which one or two of these tasks, if I really nailed them, would make the biggest positive difference? Which ones have the most leverage?
Yeah.
That task. The one that maybe makes you slightly uncomfortable because it's big or important, that's probably your frog. That's your 20%.
That might be different for everyone, right?
Oh, absolutely. For a student, like we said, it might be tackling that tough chapter, not organizing notes perfectly. For a salesperson, maybe it's making those 5 key follow-up calls, not redesigning their email signature. For a manager, maybe it's having that difficult but necessary conversation with a team member, not clearing out their inbox. The core lesson is working smarter, not just harder. It's about identifying where your effort has the most disproportionate impact and doubling down there. Maximize your return on energy.
Okay, makes total sense. So we've got goals, planning, and the 80-20 focus. What about that monster that gets in the way of all this? Procrastination. This brings us to idea number 4. Beat procrastination. Develop the do-it-now mindset. Tracy is pretty blunt about why we procrastinate. He often says it boils down to fear. The task seems too big, too hard, maybe just plain boring, or we're afraid we won't do it well, so we avoid it.
Yeah, that resistance kicks in.
Exactly, and the antidote he proposes is equally direct. It's a simple mantra. Do it now. When an important task comes up or when you identify your frog for the day, the key is immediate action. Don't pause, don't think too much, just start. And a huge part of making do it now work, especially for those big scary frogs, is breaking them down.
And chunking it down.
Yeah, making it less intimidating. Turning that mountain into a series of small, manageable steps. Let's take Alex, the law student prepping for the bar exam. Huge undertaking. He knows he needs to master this massive 100-page section on, contract law. It's dense, complex, vital.
Sounds like a classic frog.
Totally. And every time he thinks about it, he's like, 100 pages, no way. The sheer size paralyzes him. So he finds other things to do, maybe organizes his highlighters, reads emails, anything but tackle the beast.
Classic avoidant.
Textbook. Then he applies the eat that frog strategy. Instead of seeing 100 pages, he tells himself, okay, forget 100. I'll just read 10 pages. Anyone can read 10 pages.
Lowers the barrier drastically.
Right. So he does it, reads 10 pages, and afterwards he feels, okay, maybe even a little good. Hey, I made a start. That little win gives him a boost. So he thinks, all right, maybe another 10, and he does it again. By repeating that process, breaking it down, taking one small bite at a time, he gets through the entire 100-page monster in just a couple of days. What felt impossible became manageable.
It's such a perfect example of the psychological trick, isn't it? Breaking it down makes the initial step feel tiny, almost trivial. It bypasses that brain's alarm system that screams, danger, too big, run away.
Because honestly, the hardest part is usually just starting, overcoming that inertia. Once you're moving, even a little bit, it's much easier to keep going. Those small steps build momentum. They give you those little dopamine hits of accomplishment, which fuels the next step. It's a beautiful, positive cycle.
It really is. It disarms the task completely. So for you listening, the next time you feel that pull towards procrastination, I'll do it later, try this. First, literally say to yourself, do it now. Maybe even out loud. Then immediately ask, what is the absolute smallest first step I can take? Like the gym example you mentioned earlier. Don't think I have to do a whole workout. Think. Step 1, put on gym shoes. That's it. Once the shoes are on, maybe step 2, grab keys and water bottle. Then step 3, get in the car. Little tiny steps. Before you know it, you're halfway there.
It's about getting the ball rolling, even if it's just an inch.
Exactly. Yeah. And the ripple effect is huge. Every time you overcome procrastination on one task, you're not just getting that thing done. You're strengthening your do-it-now muscle. You're building self-discipline, building confidence. It makes tackling the next challenge, the next frog, feel that much easier. You start to see yourself as someone who does the hard things. That's transformative.
Absolutely. Changing that self-perception. Okay, this idea of getting started and building momentum connects perfectly to our 5th key idea, the power of focus, embracing deep work for maximum impact. Tracy really pushes back against a common modern idea. He flat out says multitasking is a myth. His point is that trying to juggle multiple things simultaneously doesn't make you more productive. It just fragments your attention.
It feels productive, but it's often not.
Right. You switch back and forth, losing time and mental energy with each switch. The quality of your work likely suffers too. You're doing several things poorly instead of one thing well. The solution he advocates, and this term deep work has become really popular now, is to dedicate blocks of time to one single important task. 100% focus, no distractions.
Easier said than done in today's world.
Oh, for sure. And that's the crucial prerequisite Tracy highlights. You have to actively eliminate distractions. It's not enough to just want to focus. You need to engineer your environment to allow focus. Think about Lisa, the marketing consultant in New York. She needs to create this really important client presentation. Should take maybe 2 hours of solid work. But what happens? Phone buzzes, checks it, sees an email notification, clicks it, gets tempted by a Twitter notification, quick scroll, you know the drill. That 2-hour task stretches into 5 hours. It's frustrating, inefficient, stressful.
The cost of constant context switching.
Exactly. So Lisa decides to try deep work after reading the book. She identifies the presentation as her morning frog. She blocks out 2 hours on her calendar, non-negotiable, puts her phone on airplane mode, shuts down email and all other tabs, maybe even closes her door. For those 2 hours, it's only the presentation.
Creating a focus bubble.
Yeah, a focus bubble. And the result, she finishes the presentation in those 2 hours. And because she was so focused, the quality is outstanding. The client loves it, gives her a bonus. Win-win.
That perfectly illustrates the cost of that context switching we mentioned. Every time you shift your attention, your brain doesn't just instantly refocus. There's this attention residue left over from the previous task. It takes time and energy to fully re-engage. Doing that constantly throughout the day is incredibly draining. It leads to more errors, lower quality thinking, and just general mental fatigue. Real productivity, the kind that produces high-value results, comes from that sustained, uninterrupted focus on one thing at a time. It's about depth, not breadth, of attention in those moments.
It's like using a laser beam instead of a floodlight.
That's a great analogy, and Tracy puts it beautifully. Every minute you spend in focus is a minute you invest in your success. Think about that word, invest. When you invest that focused time, the payoff isn't just getting the task done quicker. It's higher quality work, fewer mistakes, often more creativity, because your brain can actually make deeper connections. That investment yields huge dividends in results, reduced stress, and counterintuitively, often more free time overall because you were so effective.
That makes so much sense.
So for you listening, the practical step is clear. When you identify your frog for tomorrow, don't just put it on the list. Block out specific time for it in your calendar. Treat it like an important meeting. And during that time block, be ruthless about eliminating distractions. Phone silent and out of sight. Notifications off. Close unnecessary tabs. Whatever it takes to protect that focus bubble. It might feel weird at first, almost like you're disconnecting, but honestly, developing this skill, this discipline of deep work, is becoming a superpower in our hyper-distracted world. It leads to better work, more innovation, and a much deeper sense of satisfaction and accomplishment.
A superpower. I like that. Okay, that focus is critical for getting things done, but what about the long game? This leads us to the sixth and final idea, which kind of ties everything together. Develop yourself daily, the investment in growth. Tracy has this core belief. The biggest investment in your success is you. It's not about finding the perfect tool or waiting for the perfect conditions. It's about continuously improving your skills, your knowledge, your capabilities.
Investing in your own human capital.
Exactly. And he talks about the power of marginal gains. That idea that if you just get 1% better each day, just a tiny improvement, the compounding effect over a year is huge, like 365% better. It's not about sudden transformation. It's about small, consistent, daily steps adding up.
The magic of compounding.
It really is. And how do you do this? He highlights two main ways. First, continuous learning, actively seeking out knowledge, reading books in your field, listening to relevant podcasts or audio programs, taking courses, even just watching targeted instructional videos, deliberately learning something new regularly. Second, and this is often missed, is the daily review. Taking just a few minutes at the end of your day to reflect what went well, what didn't, what I learned, how can I be a little bit better or smarter tomorrow based on today. That reflection turns experience into wisdom.
Closing the learning loop.
Yeah. Let's look at David, the small cafe owner in Seattle. Great little local spot, but he wants to grow. He wants to get online, maybe sell his beans nationally, offer local delivery. Big ambition.
But there's a hurdle.
Right. He knows next to nothing about digital marketing. It feels like this huge, overwhelming barrier. So, applying the Eat That Frog principle of self-development, he doesn't try to learn everything at once. He commits to just 30 minutes of learning every day. Watches YouTube tutorials on Facebook ads, listens to podcasts about e-commerce, reads articles on SEO for local businesses, small bites. And critically, every night he spends 5 minutes reviewing, what did I learn today? How could I apply it? What's the next small thing to learn tomorrow?
Consistent, focused learning.
Exactly. 3 months later, he's learned enough, feels confident enough, and he launches his online store, and it takes off. Sales jump 40%. That consistent daily 1% improvement directly led to major business growth.
That's a fantastic story. And it really answers the question, how does this long-term development connect back to the daily Eat the Frog? It's about building your capacity. The learning you do today, the skills you hone, they equip you to tackle bigger, more complex, more valuable frogs tomorrow and in the future. If today's ride is writing a report, maybe tomorrow's, after some learning, is presenting that report to the board. Daily development expands your ability to handle more significant challenges and seize bigger opportunities. It makes you anti-fragile, adaptable.
So you can handle bigger frogs down the line.
Precisely. And that compounding effect is key. Like compound interest, those small daily investments in learning and reflection don't just add up, they multiply over time. 1% better each day doesn't sound like much, but over months and years, it leads to exponential growth in your skills, your confidence, your results. It's the power of relentless consistency.
It's inspiring when you think of it that way.
It really is. So for you listening, how do you make this practical? Start small. Carve out just 10 or 15 minutes each day dedicated purely to learning something relevant to your goals. Read an article, watch a tutorial, practice a skill, make it a non-negotiable part of your routine. And crucially, build in that nightly review, just 5 minutes. 3 simple questions. What worked today? What didn't work and why? What will I do differently or better tomorrow? That reflection piece is where the learning truly solidifies and translates into future improvement. The big takeaway here is that striving to be a slightly better version of yourself every day isn't just a nice motivational phrase. It's the most practical, sustainable strategy for achieving your long-term goals and unlocking your full potential.
Wow. Okay, that's a powerful note to end the core ideas on. We've really covered a lot of ground here, digging into Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog. Let's just quickly run through those 6 themes again. 1, clarify your goals, get specific, write them down. 2, planning is power plan tomorrow, tonight, save time, use A, B, C, D, E. 3, adopt the 80-20 rule, focus on the vital few tasks that deliver most results. 4, beat procrastination, use the do it now mantra, break big tasks down. 5, the power of focus, embrace deep work, eliminate distractions ruthlessly. And 6, develop yourself daily, invest in your growth through learning and review. It all comes back to that core message, doesn't it? Success isn't magic. It's not reserved for the lucky. It's the result of these small, smart, consistent actions. And maybe the most important action of all, the one that kicks everything off each day, is identifying and eating your biggest frog first thing in the morning. So here's the challenge for you listening right now. Yeah. Pause this if you need to. Grab that paper or open that note app again. Write down your top 3 goals. Make them clear. Make them smart. Then tonight, commit to taking 10 minutes to plan tomorrow. Find your biggest frog, the task you've maybe been avoiding, and put it right at the top. A1. And tomorrow morning, before anything else interferes, just do it. Eat that frog.
And just take a moment to think about the shift that happens when you consistently do that. When conquering your biggest challenge becomes your first act of the day, it's more than just task completion. It really starts to change how you see yourself. You build this quiet confidence, this internal momentum. You start realizing, hey, I can handle the hard stuff. You begin to feel more capable, more disciplined, more in control than maybe you thought possible. That feeling, that self-perception shift is incredibly powerful. That sense of relief, that surge of accomplishment you get from eating the frog. It's not just a fleeting good mood. It fuels you. It gives you the mental and emotional energy to tackle the rest of the day with more positivity and resilience. It builds this upward spiral. And over time, that consistent action, that repeated victory over your own resistance, gives you the strength, the deep-seated confidence to aim even higher, to pursue bigger goals, bigger frogs. So really think about it. What are your most important, maybe most avoided tasks right now? And what could truly change for you if you made a habit of tackling it first thing every single day? Imagine that future.
Yes, if you think you found anything smart in this video that can benefit your life, then do like, subscribe, and share the channel because the next video will be just as valuable and useful in helping to improve our lives. See you in the next podcast. Till then, make sure to act upon all the points heard in this video. It will definitely be beneficial.